Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Modi speaks to Nepal's new Prime Minister Sushila Karki on the phone. Both leaders reaffirm strong bilateral ties. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal co-chairs the India-UAE Joint Task Force. Highlights $38 billion trade surge post the signing of the Trade Partnership Pact, the CEPA, and both nations to expand strategic investment ties further. US President Donald Trump wraps up his UK visit with multi-billion-dollar trade deal. Royal honours as well as strategic talks with Prime Minister Starmer calls the trip historic. And Ukraine and Poland launch joint drone defense group amid Russian advances. The EU eyes preparation loan against Russian assets to Ukraine, and Kremlin confirms Kozak's exit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal's newly appointed Prime Minister Sushila Karki, they held a telephonic conversation today. And during these talks, Prime Minister Karki extended birthday wishes to Prime Minister Modi on the occasion of his 75th birthday. She also recalled the centuries-old friendly relations between Nepal and India and briefed Prime Minister Modi on the latest political developments in Nepal. In response, Prime Minister Modi congratulated his Nepalese counterpart on her appointment to the post of Prime Minister and pledged the continued support of India to Nepal as a good neighbour in the days to come. Prime Minister Modi conveyed heartfelt condolences on the recent tragic loss of lives in Nepal. During the conversation between the heads of government of the two close neighbours, matters relating to Nepal-India relations, issues of bilateral interest and mutual concerns were discussed. Prime Minister Modi also extended warm greetings to the people of Nepal on their National Day, which is tomorrow. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is on a two-day visit to the United Arab Emirates. On Thursday, Minister Goyal co-chaired the 13th meeting of the India-UAE High-Level Joint Task Force on Investments in Abu Dhabi. And this latest meeting, it considered a range of trade and investment topics, including ongoing initiatives to enhance bilateral investment flows as well as new areas of joint cooperation. Let's look at this report.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Thursday co-chaired the 13th meeting of the India-UAE High-Level Joint Task Force on Investments along with Managing Director of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Sheikh Hamid bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The meeting reviewed the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the Double Taxation Treaty, and Central Bank Cooperation, while exploring new investments in space, maritime, and other high-potential sectors. Both sides also discussed joint initiatives in third country markets, particularly in Africa and Central Asia, combining India's skilled workforce with the UAE's financial strength. Talking to media, Minister Goyal announced the setting up of an Indian Institute of Foreign Trade or IIFT campus at the Dubai Expo site.
We have now received all the approvals for setting up an Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, IIFT, in Dubai. IIFT campus is being set up at the Dubai Expo location. The Indian diaspora will also benefit significantly, as will the local UAE people who will get an exposure to international foreign trade education of a very high level.
Commerce Minister also underlined progress in financial integration, noting that India's Unified Payments Interface, UPI, has been rolled out in the UAE.
हमने आपस में गत 3 वर्षों से लोकल करेंसीज में व्यापार बढ़ाने का भी प्रयास जो शुरू किया था वो भी सफलतापूर्वक आगे तेजी से बढ़ रहा है। यूपीआई यहाँ पे स्थापित हो गई है। वर्चुअल ट्रेड यानी डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से दोनों देशों के बीच में डॉक्यूमेंटेशन एक्सचेंज हो सके उसको भी सुनिश्चित किया गया है।
On Friday, Minister Goyal will hold sector-specific meetings and business engagements. He's accompanied by one of the largest Indian business delegations to visit the UAE in recent years, covering industries such as pharmaceuticals, textiles, aerospace, food processing, and fisheries. Bureau Report, DD India.
US President Donald Trump concluded a historic visit to the United Kingdom, marked by a multi-billion-dollar trade deal. Hosted by Prime Minister Keir Starmer at Chequers, the leaders discussed global issues and investment growth. The visit included record US investments and royal engagements.
With a historic trade deal worth multi-billion dollars between the two nations, US President Donald Trump concluded his 3-day state visit to the United Kingdom, which came at the invitation of King Charles III. On the final day of the visit, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted President Trump at the Chequers country residence in Buckinghamshire. The two leaders held in-depth discussions on key global issues, including US-UK trade, the war in Ukraine, and the ongoing crisis in Gaza. Still images from inside Chequers showed the leaders sitting for talks and walking together through a library room. Following the talks, both the leaders addressed the media in a joint press briefing. Prime Minister Starmer highlighted the strong economic ties between the UK and the US, noting that both nations are at the forefront of sectors like technology, finance, defense, and energy.
The deals and investment that you're announcing today break all records. What a day. £250 billion flowing both ways across the Atlantic. It is the biggest investment package of its kind in British history by a country mile. So thank you so much.
President Trump echoed the sentiment, adding that the deal is already driving a surge in private sector investments on both sides.
Our two countries do a great deal of business together. $340 billion last year was the number. In May, the United Kingdom became the first country to make a trade deal with the United States during my second term, and we sort of wanted to make it the first because the bond is so strong and the relationship so long. That agreement will create billions of dollars in opportunities for American farmers to sell their products into the UK, reduce barriers to trade, and give the U.S. manufacturers better access to the UK's world-class. There's no more natural partnership in the world. Together, we're building up the industrial capacity of both of our countries, which is crucial to our defense.
The visit saw the British government announcing a record-breaking $204.87 billion package of US investments into the UK, the largest ever pledged as part of a US state visit. Earlier, US First Lady Melania Trump joined Britain's Queen Camilla on a tour of a Doll's House exhibition at Windsor Castle's Royal Library. During the tour, the pair met with a group of school children who were creating their own miniature books. The Chequers visit came after a day full of British pageantry, as President Trump and the First Lady were formally welcomed to the United Kingdom for the historic second state visit. Mohammad Afsarul Hassan's report, DD India.
And the US President Donald Trump on Thursday said that resolving the war in Ukraine has been more complex than he had expected, and that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has let him down.
The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me down. He's really let me down. It was going to be Russia and Ukraine, but we'll see how that turns out. But that turned out to be, I thought it might be among the easiest of the group. But we had settled just about every conflict, and as you know, we're working very hard on Israel and Gaza. All that's happening over there. Complex, but it's going to get done.
Well, Ukraine and Poland, they've launched a joint drone defense group. This is amid Russian advances. Also, the EU has eyed reparation loan. This is a reparation loan against the Russian assets to the Ukraine, as well as the Kremlin has confirmed the exit of Dmitry Kozak. He's the deputy head of Russia's presidential administration. So this next report explores these developments in some detail.
As Ukraine battles Russian advances on multiple fronts, Ukrainian Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal and Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz announced the creation of a joint operational group on unmanned aircraft systems. The group will integrate advanced military technology to enhance protection of critical infrastructure and civilians.
Today we agreed on a number of important steps. The first is the creation of a joint operational group on unmanned aircraft system, which will include representatives of the Ukrainian and Polish armed forces. We will integrate the latest defense technologies and initiate new projects that should strengthen the protection of our people and our critical infrastructure.
This agreement comes just a week after a Russian drone incursion on Polish soil, where Warsaw, with the help of NATO aircraft, shot down several of the 19 drones that entered its airspace. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky took a moment to meet with soldiers in the eastern Donetsk region. On social media, he shared, "I spoke with the defenders, thanked them for their achievements, and presented them with state awards." Russia's General Valery Gerasimov, in a visit to frontline troops, confirmed that Moscow's forces are advancing on multiple fronts.
Our troops in the Special Military Operations Zone are advancing in practically all directions, and the most intense fighting has unfolded in the Krasnoarmeysk direction, where the enemy is trying to halt our advance and seize the initiative by any means necessary, regardless of losses. To achieve this, the Ukrainian Armed Forces Command has redeployed its best-trained and most capable fighting units to the Krasnoarmeysk area, to the detriment of other directions where our offensive is underway.
In a surprise political development, the Kremlin confirmed the resignation of Dmitry Kozak, deputy head of Russia's presidential administration. Kozak, a longtime aide to President Putin, played a central role in managing Russia's Ukraine strategy. Sources suggest he is considering moving into the private sector. Meanwhile, in Brussels, the European Union is in talks to use frozen Russian assets to create a reparation loan for Ukraine, aimed at easing the nation's wartime finances. The plan would allow Ukraine to repay the loan only once Russia compensates for the damage caused by its attack. The proposal is designed to bypass potential vetoes from EU member states, particularly Hungary, which has maintained close ties with Moscow throughout the conflict. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, the Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that more than 700,000 Russian soldiers are now deployed on the Ukrainian front line. Putin made this comment during a televised meeting with top Russian lawmakers. Putin also said that introducing a tax on luxury could be a reasonable step, but cautioned against going too far with the idea. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. French unions strike against austerity, pressuring President Emmanuel Macron. Disney's ABC takes Jimmy Kimmel's show, the late night show, it's a talk show, off the air indefinitely over his recent comments. And Japan's fiscal dove, Sanae Takaichi, he's joined the race, or she's joined the race actually, for leadership of the ruling party. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Britain has returned the first migrant to France under a one-in, one-out agreement to remove people who arrive on small boats. The Interior Ministry said this after legal challenges had stalled the start of the scheme. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the French President Emmanuel Macron in July had agreed to this pilot scheme. Now, under the scheme, Britain deports undocumented people arriving in small boats to France in return for accepting an equal number of legitimate asylum seekers with British family connections. Mass protests swept across France on Thursday as nearly 800,000 people rallied against sweeping budget cuts and austerity measures. Teachers, healthcare workers and students joined a nationwide strike, disrupting transport and blocking schools. Unions demanded higher taxes on the rich and more spending on public services, calling the strike already a success. Here's the report.
French protesters engaged in nationwide disruptions on Thursday, opposing brutal budget cuts unveiled this summer, which new Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu is yet to roll back. The protests included school blockades, mass rallies, and a general strike. In Rennes-Bretagne, thousands marched against President Macron's austerity policies, with CGT, or General Confederation of Labour Union Leaders, calling the strike already a success.
Yes, as of noon today, we can already say that the mobilization is a success. We counted more than 400,000 demonstrators in this morning's protest, and most marches will set off this afternoon. We have counted 260 demonstrations across France and thousands upon thousands of strikes in workplaces everywhere.
Marches led by French unions also took to streets in Paris, with healthcare workers protesting outside hospitals and disrupting traffic, causing complete chaos. Commuters in Paris expressed support for the demonstrators.
It's not the resources we give them. Today, our staff are constantly rushing around. So obviously they are exhausted and they end up cracking and leaving. We have lots of colleagues who are burnt out and on sick leave. What's more, with the new regulations, we get 10% from the first day of sick leave. So that puts even more pressure on our colleagues.
Despite Lecornu's talks with unions and his promise of changes, the CGT remained firm in their opposition. The government's decision to drop the plan to cut 2 public holidays did little to ease tensions. Unions have strongly urged Macron to scrap the controversial budget. About 800,000 demonstrators took part in the protests, with 9 unions marching together for the first time since June 2023. More than 220 rallies have been planned nationwide. Union leaders aim to surpass the Block Everything movement, which drew nearly 200,000 people on September 10th.
It's important for us to be all together. All trade unions are in this manifestation, and we have just a message to the government. It's no austerity. We would like fiscality and justice. It's very important for the workers.
Teachers, train drivers, hospital staff, and students joined the strike, while police and shopkeepers in Paris braced for union-led demonstrations. With tensions still high, the French government faces increasing pressure as unions vow to continue their fight against austerity measures, signaling that the protests are far from over. With Rabindra Chauhan, Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that he and President Donald Trump absolutely agreed on the need for an Israeli-Palestinian peace roadmap on Thursday. But in fact, the US president said that he disagreed with the countries recognizing a Palestinian state.
We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back, and we want the fighting to stop, and it's going to stop. But a lot of bad things. You know, Hamas said that they're going to put the hostages up as bait. They're going to put the hostages in front of any attack. And that's pretty brutal. We haven't heard that one in a long time. So we have to remember that. So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay? One of our few disagreements, actually.
At the end of each month. We absolutely agree on the need for peace and a roadmap because the situation in Gaza is intolerable. The hostages have been held for a very, very long time, and they must be freed. And we need aid to get into Gaza at speed. And so it's within that context of a plan for peace, which we're working hard on, which not only did we discuss this morning, but our two teams have been working together on, that the question of recognition needs to be seen. And so it's part of that overall package which hopefully takes us from the appalling situation we're in now to the outcome of a safe and secure Israel, which we do not have, and a viable Palestinian state.
Well, the UN Security Council, in fact, is slated to vote on Thursday on the latest call for a ceasefire and increased humanitarian access to Gaza. This is a move supported by a majority seeking to act despite repeated US vetoes. The 10 non-permanent members, they initiated discussions on the current draft resolution in late August in response to the UN's official declaration of famine after nearly 2 years of Israel's operation on the Palestinian territory. An earlier draft primarily demanded lifting barriers to aid, but diplomatic sources said that France, the United Kingdom, and Russia were skeptical of the value of a purely humanitarian resolution from a body tasked with maintaining world peace, which the US still could have blocked. Now, the draft that is up for vote on Thursday, it calls for opening access to aid, but also demands an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, respected by all parties, as well as the immediate and unconditional release of hostages. Palestinians fled Gaza City on Thursday after Israeli forces ordered residents of the city to evacuate to the south. Israel says that the offensive to take control of Gaza City is part of a plan to defeat Palestinian militant group Hamas for good, and that it has warned civilians to head south to a designated humanitarian zone. Hamas attacked Israel in October of 2023, killing about 1,200 people and taking 251 hostages. Israeli tallies show this. 2 Israelis were killed on Thursday in what Israel's military has described as a terror attack at the Allenby crossing, the only gateway for Palestinians from the Israeli-occupied West Bank to Jordan. The Israeli ambulance service said the 2 men succumbed to their wounds while the shooter was killed by security forces. The Israeli military later said it had killed a terrorist at the scene who arrived in a truck transporting humanitarian aid from Jordan and opened fire. Jordan's government spokesperson said that the authorities were following up on the incident. No group has claimed responsibility. Shifting focus now, Walt Disney-owned ABC said on Wednesday that it was pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air after comments by the late-night show's host about the assassination of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And that prompted a threat by the head of the top US communications regulator against Disney. Now, President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly pressured broadcasters to stop airing content he has found objectionable, celebrated the news in a social media post. A number of Democratic lawmakers assailed the decision, saying that free speech was under attack. The suspension of Kimmel's show marked the latest action taken against media figures, academic workers, teachers, and corporate employees over their remarks about Kirk's assassination. Now, Republican leaders and conservative commentators also have warned Americans to mourn Kirk respectfully. or to suffer consequences. And some people have been fired or suspended after discussing the killing online. The US chip major Nvidia will invest $5 billion in semiconductor maker Intel for joint development projects. Under the accord, the two companies said that they will develop custom data center and PC products as the artificial intelligence boom fuels intense demand for high-performance chips like those made by Nvidia. Nvidia's chips, known as GPUs, are in hot demand from tech giants building data centers for artificial intelligence applications. Nvidia founder and CEO Jensen Huang said on Thursday that he said it in a statement that the deal marks a fusion of two world-class platforms. Together, and I'm quoting him, he said, "Together we will expand our ecosystems and lay the foundation for the next era of computing," unquote. World equity markets rose to a fresh new peak on Thursday while the US dollar gained against major peers, buoyed by the Federal Reserve's interest rate cut, while the pound dipped slightly after the Bank of England kept rates unchanged. On Wall Street, all three indices, these were trading higher, with the Nasdaq gaining more than 1%. Intel jumped more than 25% after this Nvidia deal. You know that we just talked about it, investing $5 billion in, some people say, the struggling US chip maker. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.45%, the S&P 500 rose 0.71%, and Nasdaq Composite rose 1.07%. The Pan-European Index rose 0.81%, MSCI's gauge for stocks also across the globe. Now, the Fed rate, the rate cuts by 25 basis points on Wednesday, and it's closely watched. In fact, dot plot, these had pointed to two more rate cuts over its remaining two meetings this year, but only one additional reduction in 2026. The IMF has proposed appointing the US Treasury Department's Chief of Staff as its new number 2 official. Now, the selection of Dan Katz, which needs to be approved by the fund's executive board, would place a close confidant of the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent among the top ranks of an organization that has faced criticism from President Donald Trump's administration. If Katz is approved, his work as First Deputy Managing Director is expected to start October 6. Katz's selection comes after Geeta Gopinath left the role in August to return to Harvard University. Katz, who is Chief of Staff at the Treasury Department, was a senior official in the department during Trump's first term as well. The IMF said that Katz has been the principal advisor to the Treasury Secretary on a wide range of domestic and international matters. Sanae Takaichi, she's a prominent politician, a hawk, and an outspoken critic of China. She's announced on Thursday that she's going to be running in the ruling Liberal Democratic Party's leadership election, aiming to become Japan's first woman prime minister. A staunch advocate for national defense and conservative values, Takaichi is one of the favorites in this race, which will take place on October 4. She is up against the Agriculture Minister, Shinjiro Koizumi, who is expected to formally declare his candidacy on Friday. Now, in addition to Takaichi and Koizumi, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Yoshimasa Hayashi, who was also the Foreign Minister earlier, has declared his candidacy. The LDP facing challenges in attracting young voters. The election is likely to focus on candidates who have the ability to revive the party and lead it to electoral victory. In Nepal, the Election Commission has urged the government to ensure the necessary resources, including the amendment of the Voter Registration Act of 2073, to be able to conduct the elections to 275 seats in the House of Representatives within the stipulated time. By November 2, 2025, the number of voters who have reached the age of 18 is projected to reach 10,168,230. The Home Minister, Om Prakash Aryal, held a meeting at the Election Commission today, and this is in relation to the upcoming elections, and the Election Commission officials, including the Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari, they announced that since the collection of the voter registration lists has been suspended from June 30 because of the previously set date for the by-elections, legal arrangements must be made to allow for the resumption of voter registration. On the occasion, discussions were held between the Election Commission and the government to amend the law by ordinance regarding the provision in subsection 2 of section 4 of the said Act. Now, after the Home Minister Aryal suggested the Election Commission plan measures to allow Nepalis living abroad to exercise their voting rights in accordance with the Supreme Court's order, the EC there has prepared that they will discuss with legal experts to provide suggestions on this topic. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We're going to get some expert opinion on India-UAE investments. And India reacts to Saudi Arabia-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defence Pact, saying that the government remains committed to protecting India's national interests. And going back to, you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's go back to our story on the India-UAE, the discussions that are going on improving investments between the two countries in the light of the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's visit to the United Arab Emirates. We are joined by Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. He's a former senior diplomat, and he's joining us now via video link. Thank you, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. Now, how does the India-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which was signed in 2022, how has it facilitated greater sort of private sector collaboration, greater market access, which has helped, boost ties significantly?
Mark, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Now, let me preface my remarks by saying that Prime Minister Indira Gandhi visited UAE in 1981. And then for 34 years, no Indian Prime Minister visited UAE till our current Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, visited it in 2015, just 1 year after becoming Prime Minister. And he has visited the UAE 7 times as Prime Minister, which demonstrates the importance he attaches to India-UAE relations. Now, these relations have strengthened in a remarkable manner under his leadership. And against this background, the visit of the Union Commerce Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, to UAE is highly significant and is focused on boosting investment and, of course, also trade and multi-sectoral cooperation. I think the trip reinforces the broad strategic partnership, not just the comprehensive economic partnership, but much more than that. And it aims to promote significant growth areas like technology and investment, cooperation in these areas. Now, today, the relationship between India and UAE is a robust, multifaceted, and strategic partnership across economic, geopolitical, and cultural spheres.
Right.
Now, recent agreements have solidified this bond, driving cooperation in both traditional sectors like energy and emerging fields like technology and sustainable development. So this is the broad context in which the visit is taking place. And of course, the Commerce Minister co-chaired the 13th meeting of the India-UAE high-level task force on investments.
Right,
and
absolutely.
he did so with the UAE Minister, the Managing Director of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. And I think these discussions explored new frontiers for collaboration and investment in India's high-tech and emerging sectors such as, maritime, aerospace and space technology.
Indeed. Ambassador Dayal, what strategic significance does that Bharat Mart project hold for the Indian exporters and UAE's trade infrastructure? It's a 2.7 million square foot complex in the Jabal Ali Free Zone area.
Well, you rightly said it is 2.7 million square foot in its area, and this shows this gigantic scale on which it has been conceived and is being executed. And I think that this complex, Bharat Mart, offers very good opportunities for Indian exporters because they can use this facility to manufacture and, of course, store whatever they are manufacturing. So that is why, UAE is becoming more and more attractive for Indian exporters, and steps which they have taken, like Bharat Mart, are a pointer to the direction in which they are focusing the aspects of bilateral cooperation and investment. Let me also mention that there are moves to implement a system for settling bilateral trade in local currency and integrating payment systems. Now, already the UAE is India's third largest trading partner and the second largest export destination. So the landmark Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement to which you referred earlier, which has been in effect since May 2022, has propelled this growth of the bilateral relationship. And it helped to nearly double merchandise trade from about 43.3 billion in 2021 to over 83.7 billion in financial year 2023-24. Now, significantly, the two sides have said that they have set an ambitious target of reaching $100 billion in non-oil, non-precious metal trade over the next 3 years. So this is the sort of vision that the two sides have, and in the context of which Commerce Minister is visiting UAE.
Ambassador Dayal, you did mention that, trade in local currencies as well as the payment system integration, using of UPI and all that. In what ways does this actually enhance the cooperation levels and make things easier to avoid sort of third-party, the use of third-party currencies in our trade exchanges?
I think for this sort of an arrangement facilitates bilateral trade because India is now moving towards encouraging trade in local currency. Of course, India is not moving towards de-dollarization. We have made that very clear. But trading in local currency removes the risks of commissions and also the fluctuations of foreign currencies. So in this sense, it's a very significant step that the two sides have taken to try and implement as soon as possible trading in local currency. But by and large, all aspects of the partnership are very significant because UAE is a critical partner for India's energy security. And now the partnership has expanded significantly into many strategic areas. Let me mention that India and UAE have a growing defense relationship with regular military exercises. And they also cooperate on counter-terrorism. So both nations are active in regional and multilateral forums. So the large Indian community in the UAE is also a strategic asset for both sides. The Indian diaspora currently numbers about 3.8 million, and it's the largest expat group in the UAE. And the UAE is, of course, the second largest source of remittances to India. I think the amount was 22.8 billion in to 23. So, let me say that this visit of the Commerce Minister is taking place within the context of a robust and expanding comprehensive strategic partnership between
Indeed.
India and the UAE.
And the Minister, Piyush Goyal, is there for the 13th Joint Task Force on Investments meeting, as you were saying, a high-level meeting. This task force has been around since 2013. This is the 13th meeting. How has it helped, overcome sort of investor challenges?
Investor challenges don't go away so easily. There are lots of inhibitions and reservations. But what these meetings seek to do is to eliminate any barriers, any hurdles, and to facilitate the bilateral investment process. The UAE is the 7th largest investor in India and has made significant investments in sectors like real estate, infrastructure, and energy. And the two countries are collaborating on major projects. You referred to the Bharat Mark. That is a very significant investment venture. And by and large, I think the idea is to make sure that if there are any hurdles in regard to bilateral investments, then these are removed.
Ambassador Dayal, you did mention defense, but the cooperation also in the maritime area, in space, this signals a greater depth in the relationship, the broadening of the India-UAE strategic engagement. How wide can it get, actually?
I think the scope for widening it is endless. The partnership envisages collaborations in fields like space exploration, academic research, and the potential establishment of even, overseas Indian campuses like those of the IIT. So there is the endeavor to expand and widen the partnership to different areas and not let it be confined only to, for instance, energy or trade, investment, or, for instance, remittances, to go much, much beyond that. So in that sense, this is a partnership which is being focused on very seriously by our Prime Minister. And this is evident from the fact that he has visited the UAE 7 times and held meetings with not just the top leadership, but all across the board to see how the expansion of the relationship into diverse sectors can take place.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former senior diplomat. Thank you for putting that into context for us. The 13th meeting of the Joint Task Force on Investments in India, between India and the UAE. Our next story now, the US President Donald Trump said that he is very close to India and also close to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, Trump was addressing a press conference along with the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, in the United Kingdom.
As you know, I'm very close to India. I'm very close to the Prime Minister of India. I spoke to him the other day, wished him a happy birthday. We have a very good relationship. He put out a beautiful statement too.
Well, New Delhi has said that it will study the implications of a mutual defense pact signed between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia in response to a media query on reports of defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. The official spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Randeep Jaiswal, said, and I quote, "We have seen reports of the signing of a strategic mutual defense pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The government was aware that this development, which formalizes a long-standing arrangement between the two countries, had been under consideration. We will study the implications of this development for our national security as well as for regional and global stability. Government remains committed to protecting India's national interests and ensuring comprehensive national security in all domains." Unquote. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attended the annual symposium of the Indian Foundation of Quality Management in New Delhi on Thursday. Emphasizing on the need to bridge the human resource insufficiencies, the Finance Minister urged the private sector to partner with the government to upskill youth, creating more direct employment opportunities in the country.
I hope there's no more hesitation for industry to invest further. to expand capacities, produce more in India. And what else is required by the government to do? Spell them out. The second, a point that I referred when I spoke, how to bridge the human resources insufficiencies. So I would want private sector participation together with government in readying youth to be fit for quick and direct employment. And the third one, which I've repeated several times, is the engagement with government should be ongoing. It should not be just before budget, come and say a list of things and disappear. Please keep it going on. We're all here to hear you, and we respond.
India's Chief Economic Advisor V. Ananta Nageshwaran expressed the hope that the additional 25% US tariffs will be lifted after November 30th. He expressed the hope for positive results from the ongoing trade negotiations between India and the United States.
Original reciprocal tariff of 25% plus the penal tariff of 25%, both were not anticipated. But considering recent developments in the last couple of weeks and so on, I do believe that the penal tariff will not be there beyond November 30th. Given the recent developments which we see in terms of both countries finding an off-ramp and reaching out to each other, and including the important negotiator being in India in the first 2 days of this week, I do believe that there will be a resolution in the next couple of months on the penal tariff and hopefully on the reciprocal tariff also.
Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav attended the Public Affairs Forum of India in New Delhi on Thursday. Other Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri and Bhupendra Yadav also attended the event, which focused on policy discussions and economic reforms affecting households, farming and the middle class. The Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, along with senior members of the PAFI, they launched a book during this event, The Policy Pivot, that looks at India's strategic shift in policy and economic issues. So, speaking at the event, Ashwini Vaishnav hailed the GST 2.0 reforms. He said that these reforms will make household, farming and middle class essentials cheaper, boosting demand in the market.
Now, the way GST has been structured, practically every household item, practically every item used in farming, practically every item used by aspirational middle class will get cheaper. That means when lower prices, the demand will get a significant impetus, a significant boost.
India's Election Commission on Thursday said that the allegations made by the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, on the deletion of voters, these allegations are incorrect and baseless. The Commission said that no deletion of any voter can be done online by any member of the public as misconceived by Rahul Gandhi. The Commission stated that in 2023, certain unsuccessful attempts were made for the deletion of electors in the Aland Assembly constituency of Karnataka, and an FIR was filed by the Commission itself to investigate this matter. Let's take a look now at other stories making the news. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation granted approval for the recommendation of helicopter operations for the chairman, for the Chardham Yatra of 2025 on Thursday. This comes after the monsoon break with a clear mandate of zero tolerance for any lapses in safety, and also the DGCA has instructed that they should adopt strict measures to ensure safe operations. Mera Desh Pahale, the untold story, which is a musical show of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, came alive in New Delhi on Thursday, and this story is conceptualized and presented by the lyricist and storyteller Manoj Muntashir, which unfolds the lesser-known chapters of the life of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a journey of determination, sacrifice, and unshakable resolve. Bangladeshi student protest leader Nahid Islam concluded his testimony on Thursday before the International Crimes Tribunal in a case against humanity allegedly committed by the former ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The crimes against humanity, that is. So the ex-Home Minister Asad Uzzaman Khan and former Police Chief Chaudhry Abdullah Al-Mamun, these were also co-accused. Hasina is being tried in absentia. Nahid, the former information minister, is a key prosecution witness in the trial, which began after formal charges were framed on July 10. News now from the world of sports. And the two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu marched into the quarterfinals of the China Masters Badminton tournament on Thursday. Sindhu beat Thailand's Pornpap Chongkawong 21-15, 21-15 to register her second successive straight game victory. This is Sindhu's 7th win in 12 meetings against Chongkawong. And she will in fact face the Olympic medalist, the gold medalist, and world number 1 An Si-young of South Korea in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty also produced a clinical display, and they sailed into the men's doubles quarterfinals. The Indian duo beat the Chinese Thai pair of Chiu Xiang-chi and Wang Chi-lin. The Indian badminton players will face China's Ren Xiangyu and Hao Nan-chi in the quarters. On the eve of their final group clash against Oman, Team India hit the nets in Dubai, looking to fine-tune their plans and also give, game time to those who are waiting in the wings before the Super 4 stage begins. Abhishek Mahajan reports.
All right, so India will play their last league game against Oman on Friday, and Kuldeep Yadav had come for the pre-match press conference, and he said that we are not taking any team lightly. There is no complacency in the team, and you can see behind me, Team India is sweating it out. This is an optional training session, and the likes of Hardik Pandya, Sanju Samson, Shubman Gill, Abhishek Sharma, they are not part of the practice session today. Is this an indication that Team India might make a few changes in the playing 11? Bumrah is also not there at the practice session, and we saw Rinku Singh also sweating it out with the fielding coach T. Dilip. Is this an indication that Rinku Singh will be part of the playing 11 against Oman? It looks like that Arshdeep Singh will play instead of Jasprit Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah might be rested in the game against Oman, and big game against Pakistan. India will play against on 21st September against Pakistan. That will be the first game India will play in the Super 4 stage. But yes, a big opportunity for Oman also. They'll be playing their first international game against India. It's a big chance for them to measure the progress also. With cameraman Kumar Datta, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Dubai for DD India.
Well, the Archery Premier League was officially launched today at a grand ceremony in Delhi, and a total of 48 archers were drafted into 6 franchises for the inaugural edition. The draft featured 36 Indian and 12 foreign archers. Each team picked 8 players, building balanced as well as competitive squads for the first season. The franchises include the Prithviraj Yodhas, the Mighty Marathas, the Kakatiya Knights, the Rajputana Royals, the Chiro Archers and the Chola Chiefs. The draft unfolded across 8 rounds. Each squad was required to have 3 compound and 3 recurve archers. The remaining 2 slots will be given to teams. In fact, the remaining 2 slots gave the teams more flexibility.
आर्चरी हम इंडिया में शुरू कर रहे हैं। भारत पहला देश बन रहा है आर्चरी प्रीमियर लीग के लिए। इसके पीछे उद्देश्य यही है कि हम अपने आर्चर्स को एक्सपोजर दे सके और आर्चरी को देश में नहीं बल्कि दुनिया में और लोकप्रिय कैसे बनाया जाए।
We should have the best of the world's archers competing with our best, and our second-rung archers also get an opportunity to compete and train along with the best in the world. It will be sport, it will be entertainment, and it will be history, because all the teams you see the names, they are from medieval India, where we have said we'll get the best possible, and we have got them. Now we will showcase India also to the rest of the world.
And the Archery Association of India launched this Archery Premier League in Delhi on Thursday. And on the occasion, India's top archer, Jyoti Sureka Venam, said that such leagues have always helped boost viewership and passion for the sports. Jyoti shared her thoughts with Narayan Singh.
Joining me, India's top-notch archer, Jyoti Sureka Venam. Jyoti, a new league, we can say that a start of a new dawn for the Indian archery with the start of the initial or the inaugural season of the Archery Premier League. So how you look this opportunity for the Indian archers?
I think it's going to be a very good beginning, because there are many instances where you have seen many sports coming up with leagues, and the viewership has been grown immensely, and also the love for the sport has grown immensely. So I believe and wish it is the same for archery too.
So talking about the format, the time has been reduced from 20 to 15 seconds. Also, it will be played under the lights. So do you think it is a challenge for the archers, and also just we can check their limits and also push them for the betterment in the archery?
Yes, of course. I think it's a bit challenging because reducing the time, but if you are a good shooter who can manage things correctly in also a short period of time, so it's okay.
So talking about the archery and the Olympics, we know that Indian archers, you people have won medals at every podium and defeated the best in the business like the Korean teams. So now what are the preparations, how your preparations are going for that Olympic medal? It's looking very near.
And we have Asian Championships and World Cup final lined up in the next few months, and we also have the Asian Games next year. So I would like to take one step at a time in each and every tournament, so that I can give my 100% in that particular tournament. But in the long run, Olympics is still there, so yeah, hopefully.
Definitely, the way Jyoti Sureka Venam is saying that Olympic is in her mind, and definitely the way things are going, our archers are winning medals at every podium. Soon, I think very soon, we will win a medal at the Olympics too. With camera person Aniket, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. Thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.